Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to call to order this afternoon's meeting of the Senate Committee on Legislative Operations and Elections. Secretary, please note all members are present except Majority Leader. Please mark her present when she arrives. And ask everybody to silence their cell phones. Today, we're very lucky to have our colleague Assemblyman Watts here to present Senate Bill 87, which came out of the Interim Committee on Natural Resources. And I believe there's an amendment which should be on Nellis now. If not, I think they're hard copies here in the room and in Carson City. Good afternoon, Assemblyman Watts. Thank you. Please proceed whenever you're ready.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. For the record, I'm Howard Watts. I represent Assembly District 15 in Clark County. It's my pleasure to present Senate Bill 87 for your consideration today. SB 87 was one of the bills recommended by the Joint Interim Standing Committee on Natural Resources, which I served as the chair of during the last interim. It was recommended to this committee by the Subcommittee on Public Lands, and both the subcommittee and the full committee recommended it unanimously. The genesis of this bill was based on some comments that we received at one of the Public Land Subcommittee meetings from the Walker Basin Conservancy, noting that there were certain non-competitive eligibility programs for folks doing conservation work through AmeriCorps and other programs to achieve employment in positions in the federal government, but that similar provisions did not exist into state government. And so the genesis of the bill was really to try and create some alignment between state and federal government and create a stronger pathway into state service for those that are already interested in public service generally by giving back. The scope of the bill, as you'll see it, is a little bit broader than that. So it includes AmeriCorps generally. As we were working on the development of the bill, we learned that any AmeriCorps VISTA participant it has non-competitive eligibility in the federal government for 2 years following the completion of their term. And we know that we do have AmeriCorps programs here that are not only in the conservation space. So the bill as it stands is a little bit more broad than that. I'm joined here today by a representative of the Walker Basin Conservancy who I'd like to turn the presentation over to provide a little bit of background from their perspective. And then with the chair's permission, I will give an extremely brief walkthrough of the bill and the proposed amendment, and then we'll take any questions you have.
Thank you very much, Assemblyman Watts. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. Please state your name for the record and proceed.
Miguel Gonzalez. I'm with the Walker Basin Conservancy. Thank you for considering this bill today. As Assemblyman Watts said, it is a big bonus for a lot of AmeriCorps members and other public service members within the state. This came about because I have a long history of working with conservation organizations and AmeriCorps programs, both here in Nevada with the Walker Basin Conservancy, the Nevada Conservation Corps, and the Great Basin Institute, but also in other states. And a big bonus of that public service and what AmeriCorps members do for the community and the public good is some of the preferential hiring status they have at the federal level. It always was interesting to me that federal government offered them that kind of status without offering it at the state level as well. So that's kind of the genesis of this bill, is to offer the similar kind of perks and benefits at the state level. AmeriCorps programs, as Assemblyman Watts said, have a lot of benefits for the state of Nevada. There's a lot of programs like ours that are focused on conservation and natural resource protection, helping restore and maintain public lands for the public good. But there's a wide range of other programs that do a lot of stuff in health and human services, in education and development, and for serving underserved communities and helping at-risk youth and that kind of thing. So I think this bill being expanded beyond that, being expanded beyond the conservation side of things to general public service, I think is a great benefit for both AmeriCorps members as well as the programs that hire AmeriCorps members, as well as the state. AmeriCorps brings a lot of folks to the state, helps a lot of folks that are living in the state enter the workforce, provides a lot of entry-level skills and experience and job skills training for positions that I think this the state could benefit from that kind of training and development of AmeriCorps members and transitioning them to state service.
Thank you very much. Assemblyman Watts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, and again, just to clarify at the outset, these are often young people that are getting involved in public service and giving back to the community. And so we're looking at entry-level positions into state service as well. This is really, again, hoping to provide a career pathway for young people that have some of these interests in giving back to get into relevant sectors within state government. Again, when we talk about conservation, we've got a pipeline to get folks into jobs with the Forest Service or with the various Department of Interior agencies like the BLM, but don't have a similar pipeline for jobs in state parks or other positions within our departments of conservation, natural resources, or wildlife. So with that, I'll go over the text of the bill very briefly. Section 1 adds to Chapter 284 an additional eligibility for non-competitive status if they meet the minimum qualifications for the position. So again, they must meet the qualifications that are provided for the position, and then that have successfully completed at least 900 hours of service in an AmeriCorps program within this state within 2 years of applying for that position. So that is the bill as it stands. There is one conceptual amendment that has been provided. What that does is add, in addition to the AmeriCorps program, the Job Corps program, which specifically seeks to provide training and employment opportunities to at-risk young people. There is a Sierra Job Corps up here in northern Nevada. And it also includes the Youth Conservation Corps, which is, again, not something that doesn't fall into these, but falls within the federal Public Lands Corps non-competitive eligibility status. And there have been some YCC programs undertaken in this state over time. So it's really just trying to, again, align the language of this bill with some of the entities that are eligible under the federal Public Lands Corps hiring authority. So the last thing I'd like to mention is, we've been in conversations with AFSCME about and representatives of state workers about the provisions of this bill, and we will be bringing forward an additional amendment at some point to ensure that the experience that these individuals had through these programs is aligned with the experience of the jobs that they are seeking in the state. And with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions that the committee may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Members, any questions? Senator Krasner.
Thank you, Senator Orenshaw. Thank you, Assemblyman Watts, for your presentation. Could you please give me an example of what a position in the classified service would be? Thank you.
Thank you, Howard Watts, for the record. So one that I can think of in the conservation space would be a position in state parks. And, I think, again, if we think more broadly about some of the things that AmeriCorps does in health and human services and education, particularly in the health and human services realm, I think within some of our social services departments, there's a range of more entry-level positions that folks might want to move into and enter into state service after completing a term of volunteer service through AmeriCorps.
Thank you. Any follow-up, Senator Krasner? Please go ahead.
One quick follow-up. Thank you, Chair. So would a person who is not a graduate of AmeriCorps, is that right? So a person who's not a graduate of AmeriCorps, would they ever be able to hold any of these positions in the classified service?
Thank you for that question. Howard Watts for the record. So again, there's general eligibility to apply for positions and compete for those positions if you meet those qualifications. So anybody, regardless of whether or not they've participated in an AmeriCorps program, can apply and seek a position. What this is looking to do is align with programs that we have in the federal government that make someone eligible to be appointed to a position without having to go through that competitive process if they meet all of the qualifications and, in addition, have completed a term of service in one of these volunteer programs. And again, we want to make sure that the experience through that is aligned with the position that they'd be seeking with the state. So essentially what we're trying to do is give folks that are really, young people that are really interested in service, a little bit of a leg up in getting into state government.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. One question I had, the qualification that the 900 hours had to be 2 years before the person applied, is that something where our hands are tied by federal law, or could we go beyond that, like to 5 years if someone had completed the 900 hours?
Thank you for that question, Howard Watts, for the record. So that actually does mirror some federal language. We are not hindered by that. However, the goal is, again, that we want to provide a pipeline. And so we don't want to have kind of just an open-ended, if someone's done this at some point, now they're eligible. Especially, again, the focus is on entry level and really starting to build people into a career of public and government service. And so we want to help spur people to move from these positions into state service. Potentially, if that window is longer, that then allows people to qualify for non-competitive eligibility further in their careers when they're actually seeking promotions and not seeking to enter service. And that can become a little bit problematic.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. No other questions, members? All right, not seeing any other questions, I'll go to support for Senate Bill 87 with the proposed amendment here in Carson City. Anyone who wishes to speak in support? And I'm going to limit people to 2 minutes per speaker. Then we'll go down to the Sawyer Building and to the phone lines, although I don't know if we have a Sawyer Building for our connection. No, so I guess we're not connected to Sawyer Building today, but we do have the phone lines. So here in Carson City, please state your name for the record and proceed.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Christy Cabrera-Georgeson. I'm the Deputy Director of the Nevada Conservation League. We'd just like to come up and share our support. We think this is a great bill, and we'll keep folks in Nevada and fill our conservation agencies with people who care about these issues, help get our workforce more diverse and trained. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Tom Clark. I'm here today on behalf of United Way of Northern Nevada and the Sierra. They very much support this particular piece of legislation. I will say on a personal note, I also have served on the board of directors for the Friends of Black Rock High Rock for over a decade, and we rely heavily on our AmeriCorps volunteers. They do tremendous work in really tremendous, crazy places around our state. They are an asset to us as an organization, and for this opportunity to be open for them would be fantastic. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Anyone else here in Carson City wishes to speak in favor of Senate Bill 87? Good afternoon. Please state your name for the record and proceed.
Sorry.
I think the button
Good afternoon.
should light up. Yep, we can hear you.
Jeff Bryant with the Toy Hobby Group. So I'm here today to offer my full support for SB 87. I've spent the majority of my career working in AmeriCorps programs and even had the privilege to establish a few right here in Northern Nevada, including with the Walker Basin Conservancy. While the diversity of AmeriCorps programs in the state address a multitude of community needs, I'd like to highlight that these essential programs also provide pathways for idealistic, early career adults to gain meaningful real work experience. With that being said, I've also witnessed time and again AmeriCorps alumni leaving the state for the next chapter in their career because efficient pathways to professional employment are not always clear, sometimes not available. Nevada loses key demographics of talented workforce participants to this. SB 87 helps mitigate this loss. Being able to retain an experienced and engaged workforce would benefit state agencies across Nevada, from education to natural resource management. Creating a new pipeline to retain AmeriCorps alumni would also help fill a large amount of vacant positions across state government. Lastly, SB 87 would give Nevada AmeriCorps programs a recruitment advantage over our neighboring states that attract talented individuals and then retain them right here at home. So I strongly support the bill. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony, Mr. Bryant. Anyone else here in Carson City? Please state your name for the record and proceed.
Good afternoon. My name is Leslie Mix. I'm here representing Sierra Nevada Job Corps. We're strongly in favor of SB 87, particularly with the Job Corps component to it. We serve youth from 16 to 24 years old throughout the state, and we train them in the trades. It's a total wraparound services program, so we have a very high success rate with our youth. They're coming out of poverty, they're underrepresented, not necessarily having equitable access to things in their lives so far. And this would be a great bill to be able to help them get into a career path that would be seriously beneficial to the state of Nevada. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just have a quick question. I've got really very high opinion about your program, having worked with kids down in Clark County who've then gone to your program. Do you think a lot of the kids who graduate Job Corps would have the 900 hours where they would qualify if this bill passes?
Yes,
Okay.
they would have the hours.
Thank
And we
you.
train them really, really well.
Thank you. I appreciate the work you do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please, if you'd like to testify, please come forward and state your name for the record and proceed.
Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Zanny Marsh, and I am the Executive Director of Nevada Volunteers. We are the administrator of AmeriCorps funds in Nevada. I'm here on my personal time to share my support for SB 87, and just to let you know that AmeriCorps members are dedicating approximately 1,700 hours of service during their service term, and they are living and serving in Nevada communities in impact areas that include environmental stewardship and access to health care, healthy living services, education, and what we know, I think pipeline has been, it's certainly been the buzzword of the hearing so far. What we know is that we have AmeriCorps members who are looking to build and begin careers here in the state that they have been serving, and we couldn't strongly support this bill more because it will provide a pathway for those members, for knowledge capture, for talent capture, to stay right here and to continue to contribute to the state and to our communities. So on behalf of Nevada Volunteers, as me as a person, Zanny Marsh, I'd like to support this bill.
Thank you very much, Ms. Marsh. Thank you. Right. Not seeing anyone else here in Carson City for support. I'd like to go to the phone lines broadcasting. If there's anyone who wishes to speak in support of Senate Bill 87, we are allotting 2 minutes per person testifying.
Thank you, Chair Orenshaw. The public line is open and working. However, there are no callers at this time.
Thank you. We'll now go to opposition. Anyone who is opposed Senate Bill 87 here in Carson City? And I'm not seeing anyone broadcasting. Is there anyone on the phone lines who wishes to speak in opposition to Senate Bill 87?
Chair, the public line is open and working. However, there are no callers at this time.
Right, we'll come back to Carson City neutral. Anyone who wishes to speak neutral to Senate Bill 87? Afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Randy Saltero, representing the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees. We are here in neutral as we are working with the bill sponsor and all parties that are involved in working on an amendment that we can come to support. And we are very optimistic that's going to happen.
Thank you. I appreciate
Thank
you
you so
working with the Assemblyman. Thank you very much. Anyone else neutral? Broadcasting on the phone lines, I'm looking for neutral testimony. Anyone who wishes to speak?
Thank you, Chair. The public line is open and working. However, there are no callers at this time.
Thank you very much. Assemblyman Watts, any closing comments you'd like to make?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Again, thank you so much for your time in hearing this bill. Again, I'm confident that we're going to get some of the few remaining issues worked out here. And again, you heard it, it's about preventing brain drain in our state. It's about helping fill the vacancies that we have that has been such an issue across so many different fields. Listening to Job Corps, I was also thinking about positions in our Department of Transportation. There's so many needs that we have, so many opportunities that can hopefully get people into a fulfilling career in state service and harness the passion that they're bringing by getting involved in some of these programs. That's really what SB 87 is all about, and I hope that I can count on all of your support. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you for your hard work on the bill, Assemblyman. Thank you for your hard work during the interim. I'll now close the hearing on Senate Bill 87, and the last item on our agenda is public comment. Here in Carson City, if there's anyone who wishes to make public comment, we are allotting 2 minutes per speaker. I don't see anyone here in Carson City. Broadcasting, is there anyone on the phone lines who wishes to make public comment?
Chair, the public line is open and working, and there are no callers at this time.
All right, well, thank everyone for their attention, and we are adjourned.